Welcome to the Feed the Soul Company podcast, a space I've created to share my story and to encourage you to share yours. I'm your host, Liv Setla, and I can't thank you enough for being here. With me today is our special guest, Yasmine Mansi. And Yasmine is a senior at the University of Michigan. She runs cross country and track. And how I know Yas is she is my twin. She's my twin flame. We became friends through a rec soccer league our junior year of high school. And we were this was mostly of seniors at the time, and we were the only two juniors. And I remember, the first time we hung out, it was almost like, oh my gosh, where have you been my whole life? And Yasmine is just, you can probably tell as she's talking about different things in her life as she explains herself and that, but she is so positive and under any circumstance, she is just this bright light. And I actually haven't told Yaz this, but there's been a lot of times where I felt like, ooh, I'm kind of in a tough spot right now, mentally a rough spot. And I'm like, Yasmine's asking me to hang out. And she's like, Miss Girl, when are we going to hang out? And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I have it in me. But whenever I hang out with Yasmine, my soul just feels so much better. My day brightens up and just the best thing ever. So she is not only a cross country and track runner at the University of Michigan, but she is a founder of a nonprofit called the Sunbundle. And I'm going to let her introduce herself and explain more of who she is. Yasmine, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my goodness, of course. I love this so much. Feed the soul for life. Also, when you mentioned the hanging out thing, let's never forget when what was it? When we mulched your house on that day.
Talk about friend of the year. So Yaz, I literally told her, Yaz, I can't hang out because it was around the time of my dad's 1 year celebration, and we were going to host something at my house, and I had to do yard work in order to prepare for that. And she was like, well, I'm going to be on my run and I might as well just run to your house. And I said, but yeah, I'm going to be weeding, I'm going to be doing yard work. And she said, okay, I'll do yard work with you. And so she literally ran to my house, did yard work with me, and she was just the best friend.
It was a great time. I really enjoyed that moment. Going to answer your question. So my name is Yaz, and so I don't talk about this a lot, but now that we're on a podcast, I might as well just give the whole rundown. So my name is Yaz, or my name is Yasmine, and that's my birth name for my family. It's Egyptian, and I've always grappled with kind of an identity crisis when it comes to my name because Yasmine is hard to pronounce. Yasmine is not a normal name, and when people at Northville High School hear the word Yasmine, they're like, Yasmine? And I kind of just, my whole life have just let people call me Yasmine. And that's just been in anything, in sports and friendships and school. But throughout being at Michigan, I noticed that a lot of people who have domesticated their names or changed their names for people's pronunciation, a lot of people take ownership of their birth given name, of their pronunciation. And I'm kind of I want to start doing that too. So this is only within recent. So no shade on Libby for calling me Yasmin because I told everyone to call me that. But so I have people call me Yaz because my family also calls me Yaz, and it's kind of a name I'm very comfortable with. But my family back in Egypt, my family friends all call me Yasmin. So yeah, that's my little background on my name. But introducing myself, my name is Yaz. That was the whole thing about my name. My name is Yaz. I Something that I want to be known for in this world is making a lasting impact in the sporting world and other people's lives. Because I feel like a lot of people are known for playing their sport and making impact in their sport, scoring points, that sort of thing. And I do care about my sport in that way, but more long more so, I want to be known for someone who makes an impact. So that is through the work that I do with Sunbundle, with my nonprofit. I can speak a little bit to what it is, but I know we can talk about it more later. But essentially, my nonprofit goes into different athletic programs, and we collect athletic donations of shoes, clothing, etc. And we make care packages out of them and send them to underserved athletic communities to promote health, wellness, to support basically getting started with sports. Because from a young age, when people are introduced to sports, it can impact their whole life. It can impact the trajectory of like the people that they're around, the way they take care of themselves. And my goal with Sunbundle is to take the resources that we get as Division 1 athletes, as any athletic program would, and give back in a sense where we can support people in need. So Stuff Bundle is called that because it's a care package. What's inside of it is we got the athletic clothing, the shoes. We have nutrition guides, health guides, jump ropes, deodorant, all things that would get people started when they were looking for a starter kit, starter pack. So that's kind of like what my nonprofit's about. That's kind of what I'm about. And yeah, I don't know if that answers that question. Who are you?
I love that. No, I love how you speak about who you are and what you want to do as you want to make a lasting impact. But then also, it sounds like this new project you found, even though it's kind of it's work, it's a nonprofit, but it sounds like you're pouring yourself into this project, and you could definitely see how passionate you are about it. Um, I want to ask, so when did you have the inspiration to start this project? How long has this been going on for?
Yeah, so it actually started last summer. I was in Egypt competing for the first time. So I got my citizenship last January. And by the way, the process for getting citizenship is one of the most grueling, awful, horrendous, long projects ever. Um, but so we basically, my dad's Egyptian and my mom is half Libyan, half Egyptian. So I was able to get my citizenship from him. And once I got the status, I'm able to compete for Team Egypt and be able to compete in the country. So the first time I ever did that was last year. And when I was on the start line of my one of my first races, I was surrounded by people who were all running barefoot. And it was not only just because they couldn't afford spikes, but also they talked about it as if it was normalized. Like running barefoot is better for you. Running barefoot is like the norm for us. And like some people had sneakers on, and on the start line they would just peel off their socks, peel off their shoes, and run barefoot. And that made me realize, first of all, there's a dichotomy of resources because the U of M locker room is insane. Like there's so much random gear sitting around. But secondly, the education when it came to footwear and just like health and wellness, like those both kind of tied into the mission of Sun Bundle and why I started it. The mission, I can read it to you. I love the mission. And I think it's like missions are cool because they can always change. But so our mission is to empower athletics and foster wellness education within underserved communities. So both pieces of that are educating about health and wellness and then empowering with the items inside of the care package. So that's kind of where it started. I applied for doing a 501(c)(3) nonprofit in July of last year, and it took 7 months. I, July to February, I can't do the math. That's how long it took for the government to approve the status. So from that whole time, I was kind of just coming up with ideas, but none of them were coming to fruition until I got the 501(c)(3) because getting that tax deductible status is so much easier for being a nonprofit. So, in February of this past year, I created a student organization for Sunbundle, and we've been able to do a lot of different campus events. We've done bake sales, care package workshops, World Cup fundraisers, all like sort of things. And it's just we've only launched in February, so it's very new. And there's a lot that I'm planning on doing this summer and like in the future with it. But that's the beauty of it. It's like it's a moving, growing project, and there's so much to do. And like it's just still fresh. So I don't know. I'm excited about the stuff we're gonna do with it. But yeah, it is a very new project though. Hasn't been going for like 10 years or anything. But
No, that's
yeah.
so awesome. I love that so much. So that's really exciting to hear who you are, where you're going, what you want to do with it. But let's talk a little bit about how you got here. So, um, being a D1 student athlete at University of Michigan doesn't come without its struggles, challenges. So, what are some
Yeah.
of the things that you've struggled with or had challenged, and how did you overcome that to be where you are?
Yeah, for sure. So when ever since I was in high school, I feel like running was something that came easy to me. And I didn't realize until I was in college that I'm like, oh, it's not easy anymore. So the struggle that I had in high school was kind of like finding the role that running played in my life long term. It's kind of like, oh, okay, let's go run a track meet. cool. All right, let's go home. Like it didn't long term. I wasn't like, this is for my health. This is for my well being, whatever. That's something that I wouldn't even say was a struggle in high school. It was more of like something that I was lacking. It was like that that sense of self. But now in college running, something that I struggle with a lot is mental strength and just being able to make sure that it's something that I love and I'm passionate about and something that I'm driven to compete. Because since I got to college, I realized running is such a competitive space and it is more than just going out and running a track meet. You have to train 20 hours a week. You have to always be locked in with nutrition, with everything. And I'm struggling a little bit with just being mentally strong in my races because in high school when I was racing, I didn't think too much of it. It was kind of like it came easy to me. But now when I go for my races, I'll overthink and be like, "Oh my god, this girl's passing me. I'm not good enough. This isn't like this is hard." And it would just kind of be like a whole struggle for me. So, I'm the way that I'm working through that is just making sure I'm taking time for myself every day to reflect and journal and kind of we'll talk more about journaling later, but, just making sure that I still love the sport and I'm still passionate about it and really investing in the relationships that I have, within running because running is just more like every people are just more than just their sport. And I feel like sometimes I get caught up in that. I get caught up in like the times and the numbers because running's an individual sport. And I feel like that's kind of looked past within individual sports. They're just kind of seen as like, okay, you run track and field. But it's just you. You're in your own head. If you don't do well, it's yourself. You know what I mean? When you're in a team sport, it's like, "Oh, Jimmy didn't pass me the ball." But in track, it's like, "No, I didn't do that. I didn't take the risk in the race. Like that's my own that's on me." So, yeah, in high school I always played soccer at the same time and I was just always used to being a team sport and like running. I was like, okay, I'm good at this, cool, but this is not even my main thing. But now in college, it's my main thing. And it's like, oh my God, this is all coming to my realization. Like, how did I just let this go over my head before? Like, how mental it is. But now it's something I'm working through, and it's not obviously an easy fix, but it's something that I struggle with. But it's good. We're doing great. It's fine.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Yaz. I know that obviously that transition from high school to college, um, talk about different academic pressures, talk about different competitive pressures on with your sport, and then again you saying, okay, running was like a side thing for me, now it's my main thing. All these things are changing. I also wanted to ask, I guess, about the culture aspect
Mm.
changing for you. Um, Growing up in Northville, Michigan, do you want to kind of describe the demographic, like culture, like racially or ethnicity wise, and then that change from going there from Northville High School to University of Michigan?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, actually, food for thought for anyone who's listening to this. Me and Libby actually already filmed this podcast, but the file got corrupted, so we had to delete it. So
Yeah.
that was funny. But anyway, so when I was in high school, the first thing that I think of when it comes to culture is my faith and my like Muslim identity. So when I was in Northville High School, there were no Muslims on the track team, the distance side at least. And I was kind of alone in the sense where a lot of people around me were different from me, where it's a very like white school. There's a lot of different like communities that are like majority white versus like the Arab community, the Muslim community is very small in Northville. So when I transitioned to I kind of like I don't know, I feel like my whole life being just at schools in the United States, like I've had that experience. But when I came to Michigan, I noticed just within the Muslim culture, the Arab culture, it was so much more like fruitful, intense. There were so many people. It was like awesome. The first time I went to a meeting, I was like, we need the whole classroom. We don't need half. Like it was like crazy because I was like, wow. So the difference in culture when it comes to the school itself, I definitely saw a difference at Michigan, more diversity, more inclusion within my culture, just because it's a bigger environment. But when it comes to track and field at Northville versus Michigan, there isn't a I feel like there wasn't much of a community within the Northville track team in my faith, but then also now within Michigan, I don't feel like there is either, because being Muslim and being Arab American is just like already a minority group, and just finding specifically within track and field, specifically within U of M's track and field team, it's like it's diverse, but I don't have that community on the team. But that doesn't mean there isn't that community within like U of M athletics. There's a lot of Muslims and like Arabs that are within different sports, and that's something that I never really paid attention to at Northville, because I feel like within athletics in college versus athletics in high school, I feel like there wasn't really a connection between the sports in high school, but in college it's like, oh, there's the athletic like academic center. We'll see them around, or there's just like events, community service events that we do together. In high school, there wasn't that community, so I guess like having Muslim athletes that are around me is kind of like it's just like a weird space, and just having like a community in general is just really fun within U of M. Like a lot of my friends who I met here will come to the track meets and like support me there, or it'll just be fun to like have people who I can relate to. Because having friends who are Muslim, I didn't realize how much of an impact it would make in my life. Just by being able to relate to them, or just like being able to pray together, being able to relate to different things that we believe in, our morals. Like I never had that in high school, and just being able to have that now, is just kind of beautiful, because it's like, wait, we can relate to one another. This is crazy. Like I didn't ever see that coming. I'm like, okay, so yeah, and just like I think a lot of times I had imposter syndrome in high school that I kind of ignored. Like whenever I'd fast Ramadan, which we could get into a little more, but whenever I'd fast, I'd kind of be alone, and it would just be like, okay, I'm going to track practice and fasting, and then no one really understands it, and it's kind of hard for people to relate to it, or like me having to explain what it is. Like I would have to do that a lot. But then having a friend group and having a community within U of M, like, hey, let's break our fast together, let's pray together, let's do this. Like we all get it, and it's kind of like having that relationship with others is like huge, and it's just like really it's a really cool part of just being part of U of M community, and just recognizing what it's like to have long-term friendships that you can relate to. And I know you've kind of had experience with that too at UNF.
Yeah, I really liked how, well, we could connect on this
Mm.
the last time we recorded this, but I was like, even though I'm not praying 5 times a day or like doing different things super outside of my culture, like I'm Asian American, I'm half Filipino, half white, and how I grew up in Northville, Michigan, surrounded by a lot of white people, like I'm not saying that like it was neglected or anything. It was just like my culture, being Asian American, wasn't something super important in my day to day life, and I grew up very American. So even when I wasn't living in Michigan, when I was growing up in California, surrounded by more Filipinos, I still grew up very American. So, but since coming to UNLV, I've loved being around more people that look like me. And even though it's like I'm not, like you said, like the spiciest of the spicy, I know you've kind of mentioned that about your friends, but I still feel like this sense of belonging in a community that I didn't know like I could have had. And it's not like, oh, I was missing it, or it's like something I didn't know I was missing, and it just feels so good. So like I can kind of relate to that feeling of like, oh, I'm in the community, I found this, and it feels so much better. And I had no idea it could have been like this. So,
Oh wait, the spicy thing was in the other podcast.
yeah.
I should.
Can you
So
explain that though?
basically, it was like the culture gap between someone who's like whitewashed versus someone who's been grown up, or who grew up with their culture like heavily invested in their life. That's what we meant by spicy. Because I was mentioning like earlier, that a lot of my friends were like more spicy than me, in the sense where they could speak fluently in their language. They're super in tune with their culture. They like, if they go back to their home country, they know how to like interact with people. And I'm like, I'm not that spicy. I wish I was that spicy. But it's
Yeah.
okay to not be that spicy. You can be salt and pepper sometimes, but that's okay. I like love it. And like, I don't know, I just feel like when it comes to inclusion and just being within a friend group, it even like increases your own culture by being more aware of what other people are doing in their cultures and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my little spiel about spice. But
Love it, love it, love it. Um, okay, so you started talking a little bit about it, but tell us more about Ramadan and how that impacts you as a student athlete.
yeah, so one thing is like the education aspect of Ramadan when it comes to being living in a predominantly white state, culture, whatever. Because a lot of times the misconception when it comes to Ramadan is that's not good for you. That's unhealthy. You're not eating like you're that's like terrible. And the thing is like Ramadan is all about self-control and it's a month of holiness within the Muslim culture where from sunrise to sunset, we don't eat or drink, but as soon as the sun goes down, you're able to refuel your body, you're able to do everything. You basically eat in the dark for a month. That's way to simplify it. But Ramadan is a month that I heavily cherish, and it kind of like I really want to be like someone who educates people about what it actually like does for a person because like you can easily just be like, yeah, you eat in dark for a month or you don't eat at all. Which my coach thought we didn't eat at all for a month, which was crazy because he's never had a Muslim athlete before. He was like, I told him about, hey, I'm gonna be fasting, so can I do my workouts in the evening? And he was like, you fast? You don't eat for 30 days? Like he thought you actually didn't. And I was like, oh my, that was funny. But so yeah, we like basically is a month of holiness. And within the track and field space, it's kind of like interesting because when I was in high school, um, I would go and fast Ramadan, and Coach Dalton, shout out Coach Dalton, you're awesome. He would fast Ramadan with me because he would see me kind of struggling at the beginning when I was in my early years. He was like, I want to be there for you. I want to be like a community for you when you don't have a community. And that kind of meant a lot to me because it was like, it was difficult when I was first doing it. Now I feel like it's just normal. Like I've been fasting Ramadan and running like ever since my freshman year of high school. So I've gotten used to it since then. But at the beginning, it was difficult because I feel like a lot of Muslim athletes go through this. When you don't have a community, it's hard to do the things that you care about within your culture or like within your rituals because like no one else is doing this. Like this is so hard. But yeah, having him there just really helped because when it was like 80 degrees at a track meet, he would like be like, "Oh, we can't drink water. We got a few more hours." Like we would do it together, and it was just like a whole thing. And it's hard. Obviously, it's not easy to only eat in the evenings, but you also eat and hydrate the same amount, but at different times. And that's something that like I didn't really understand until I got to college because I started working with a nutritionist. Um, so I would eat when the sun went down. I'd break my fast and then eat again before I went to bed, and then wake up before sunrise and eat a third time, and then make sure to hydrate throughout the whole night, drink electrolytes. And when I realized I never ate that meal before I went to bed, I kind of just ate in the morning when I wake up and then break my fast at night. But by eating that extra meal and just I realized like, wait, I feel so much better when I'm fasting. Like I'm able to like, I don't know. And it's something like you have to train your body a little bit because it's so hard at the beginning, like the first few days of Ramadan, because your body's like, wait, I have to stop. But what is this? Where's our lunch? Where's our sandwich, bro? Where's our pot belly? Like you have to kind of like learn that, and that's like it's like a process. But being able to like have a community now and be able to fast Ramadan and just be able to strengthen my faith during that month, it's just huge, especially for my own like faith and my understanding of like my culture and religion. It's just been very fulfilling to see how much of an impact that it's made in my life and having that community. So yeah, that's a really long run on sentence right there, but yeah, that's kind of what Ramadan is like.
Very happy you explained that because even me, I'm sitting here thinking like Yasmin has or Yaz has so many things to do, right? So not only is she D1 athlete, on top of that, she's founder of Sunbundle, and on top of being a D1 athlete, she has to go through a month of like not eating, but it's eating at the time she can't eat during the day essentially.
That self control.
So I'm sitting here like that's so incredible. I can't imagine how she's doing it because for us, our resources, our nutritionists, we don't have any Muslim athletes, so on my team at least. So the messages to us about our nutrition is breakfast snack, lunch snack, dinner snack. So you have to be eating constantly throughout the day. So then when I have another student, and I can't imagine going throughout my day without one of those things, and then have someone right beside me who's doing as much work, if not more, like eating at different times. It's just like, it doesn't make sense in my brain, but here you are doing it and being awesome at it. It's just,
Thanks, queen.
you so much. Okay,
Yeah, it's totally fun.
Um, I know you were also the president of, can you name the organization? I don't want to mess it up.
MBSA. So MBSA is it's the Muslim Business Student Association. at the Raw School of Business at U of M. And basically, MBSA is a org that creates community opportunities for Muslim students in business or people interested in business who are Muslim. And it's really cool to have an affinity group organization and be at the lead of it because we do different events like social events, like we'll just grab pizza and talk about our jobs, networking, or we'll do professional events where we bring in alumni and do consulting spotlights or like that sort of thing. And kind of being the head of this organization, I do a lot of org collaborations and like organizing different things. And it's like once a week we'll have like a board meeting and talk through like the events we have planned for the next few weeks. And it's really cool to have like a stake within the business environment because I feel like being an athlete, being a student, being a nonprofit owner, there's just a lot like that I do within sport and like having that professional aspect within MBSA just kind of helps me stay well rounded within my academics as well. Because even though it is a lot, obviously, like it's so much. We'll talk a little bit about like what a day in my life looks like. But yeah, it's definitely cool to have like that tie towards MBSA because it's kind of like a super niche organization that has two of my identities inside of it besides athletics. Um, being a student in business, which it's just it's just the whole thing, being a business student, and
At
just needing to
Ross
be
at
connected
University of
to
Michigan.
yeah. Being like yeah, no, it's like the Michigan, like the Ross, like mindset behind like being a business student is all around like networking, being connected within community, and having an affinity group, like a small group to have like those connections within. It's just really like rewarding and fulfilling just to see people who have similar ambitions to you, similar morals, and similar beliefs as well. It's just like yeah, that's another like sort of thing that goes in my life is just being um a part of that work for
Okay, so
sure.
Yaz is the one student athlete. She is founder of nonprofit. She is president of MBSA. Um, Tell me, and those are only some of her identities, right? That's not completely who she is, but just to like name a couple labels.
Some titles.
What a day in the life looks like with all of the things that you do, all the hats that you wear.
Yeah. There's a lot of hats. Sometimes it gets a little hot outside when you're wearing all the hats. So I was gonna we could start with a Monday. A Monday is one of the busiest days for me. So we'll start at the beginning. So basically we have lift at 6:30 on Monday and Wednesdays. And then every day of the school week we'll have practice at 3:30 p.m. And then our practices go from 6:30 to around 8 a.m. and that'll be our morning lift. So we'll go to the weight room, me and my roommates. I have 7 roommates, love my roomies. We'll get up at 6 and we'll all look at each other like we hate this. And then we'll get in the car and then we'll go to lift and we'll do a great job. We'll get swole. I like lifting when you're a distance runner is kind of different than lifting when you're a volleyball player because we'll do a lot of like body weight stuff. We'll do a lot of like pull-ups, push-ups, strength sort of stuff like that. And then right after, when it's not Ramadan, we will go hit the fueling station, and then I'll drive back to the house and get ready for the school day. So, yeah, that kind of looks like I'll have 3 classes on a Monday. I space out my schedule so Mondays are a grind, and then Tuesdays I can sleep in a little bit and then have like less classes, and then Wednesdays a grind, and then kind of like dispersing it so I'm not like always grinding waking up at 6 a.m. every day. But yeah, so after lift, I'll go to 3 classes, try to eat lunch in my class without making a kerfuffle amount of noise in the back with my bagel. So go to like a business class and something about Ross is like a lot of your classes will be in that orange building. They will be in the Ross School of Business. So I will be in that building like 3, 4 hours a day just for doing my classes. And then I will see the sunlight after that and walk home and try to get a bite to eat before practice. So we'll have practice at 3:30. Again, carpool with the roomies, go, and then usually what training looks like is we'll do 2 workouts a week. And that's like speed workouts, distance workouts, tempo. And then the other days of the week we'll be doing base training. So base training is basically going for 5, 6, 7 mile runs, just at like conversation or like medium pace around campus, just to build up a base for your legs. because if you were to do a speed workout every day of the week, your body would get broken down so fast. So like what we do is like we'll base train, build up like a nice base, and then do speed workouts to kind of like complement that base and make sure to like stay healthy, stay uninjured. And yeah, so we'll do our base run and then we'll hit the filling station again. You know, we gotta eat those bananas, we gotta hit the granola bars, you know how it be. And then we'll do core. We'll definitely recover. That's huge in the running space, especially because being a distance runner, you are putting miles on your legs every day, 40 miles a week, 50 miles a week. If you're James Gedgers, 100 miles a week. And it's like a lot on the body. So we'll hop in the ice tub, we'll do Normatec boots, we'll roll out, go see the trainers if we're having any issues. And yeah, that's kind of what practice looks like. It says on the itinerary 3:30 to 5:30. It's not. It's usually 3:30 to like 6:30, 6. And then after that, on a Monday, I will usually still look like I just practiced and then go to my board meetings for the night for my club. And then homework will be after that, but we'll talk about that. So we'll go to board meetings. Um, MBSA meets once a week. Sunbundle meets like bi-monthly, like or twice a month. I think I messed that up though in the last podcast too. I didn't know how to say it. We met twice a month. Anyway, so we will go into an MBSA meeting, plan the events that we have for the week. Since it's Monday, it'll usually be like one event for the week, and then we'll start talking about what we have planned for the next week. Book the rooms, figure out the food, figure out the funding. Funding is a whole thing. It's literally a whole thing. But anyway, after that, I will usually grab dinner and then go to the library and do my homework. And I will be like, wow, at the end of the day, nothing's open. I need to eat. Do I go with the ramen? Do I make dinner? Do I go to NYPD? What's the move? Like it's always a battle every day. And I feel like that's something I definitely want to work on. It's another struggle is like making sure I'm on it with my nutrition. And I admire your meal planning and the way that you're on top of it because I want to be like that. But
Well,
yeah,
to
that is what a
clarify,
typical day looks like. That's like the busy day. I'll try to be in bed by like 11 or 12, but TikTok, maybe 12:30. Yeah, and that's kinda in my life, that's what it looks like.
okay, a couple things. First, to clarify, meal prepping, I it was super helpful. Like, I still recommend doing it, but I think everything in moderation. Like, I pushed myself last year around this time to the point where I was meal prepping every meal every single day. And it honestly got to a point where it was stressing me out more than helping me. So now I meal prep, quote unquote, and I planned to eat out. So like last year I would, and also it's a financial thing too. So like I would go grocery shopping and plan on my meals, but then now my teammates are like, "Hey, Liv, let's go out for lunch," and I'm like, I can't because I didn't budget this right. I didn't have the money. I use it all on
Mhm.
groceries. So now I kind of plan. Okay, I can eat out some days. I can meal prep. I can plan for dinner that I make some nights, and then even when I do that, like it doesn't have to be like a gourmet meal every time. Like if I
Mhm.
cook, I sometimes if it's a frozen meal, it's a frozen meal. A meal is better than nothing, but also when I do have the time, I really like to just take my time and make something good for myself. Because before I would just like everything in moderation, just make food just to eat something. But now it's like, no, this could be a lot more fulfilling, a much better process if I take my time and really get what I want to do. So that's my comment about the food. But
Mhm.
you also talked about your schedule, like how Mondays are your super hard day, and then it kind of changes throughout the week just to make sure you're not like literally running yourself into the ground every day. And that's the same thing with
Mhm.
your workouts. Like you guys aren't doing, you're not jumping into a speed workout. So just those things in sport that you've seen with your schedule as a D1 athlete, that's what I love. Like that's pieces of this podcast that I want to bring out. Like yes, we'll get to my big question, but um, not only, and you talked about recovery after practice. Like these are all aspects like yes, recovery, physical recovery, that is also a part of Feed the Soul. Spacing your day out in work is also Feed the Soul. What I don't want people to think about this project I'm working on is like, oh, it's not about the grind. Like,
Mhm.
I do want to, like, being a D1 athlete, like, I love the grind, but it's also about, okay, how do we be smarter about this instead of
Mhm.
just like working hard
At all times.
yeah,
Mhm.
running ourselves into a wall that's not going to help. But I don't want to say that it's not going to take the grind to get to where you want to go.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. I
this
think
is
a lot of athletes struggle with burnout and just being like, "I don't love this because why am I dying every day?" So that's like a really good point.
yeah. But have you experienced burnout? Is that something that's ever come close?
Yeah, so after my freshman year, when I was in my sophomore indoor season for track, I noticed that every race I was running a very similar time. And I was grinding every week and I was like, "Oh my goodness, why are the results not coming?" Like it's kind of like it was like a very difficult time mentally and also when it comes to burnout, I'm like, "Oh my goodness, like it was almost like exhausting seeing like no results and all the work going into it." And that's like burnout is something that I feel like every athlete experiences, and it wasn't like a burnout, like, "Oh, I'm done with my sport." It's kinda like a burnout, like, I feel burned out, I feel exhausted, and just kind of being able to reset between seasons and then recognize, like, "Okay, these are the goals I wanna do or I wanna make, and I know it's not all gonna be results right away, and I'm gonna need to, like, take time." All things good things take time, like, it's true. No one's path is gonna be linear, like, when it comes to their sport, when it comes to success, at least, like, in the running world. I'm not sure what that looks like in volleyball, but running, it's like a lot of it is like, "What time did you run? What place did you get? Oh, did you PR?" Like, that all goes into, like, what success looks like as a runner. And I kinda have to take a step back from, like, the way that I viewed success. And I'm like, "Okay, did I feel good in this race? Did I work hard and compete in this race?" Because I realized that is what matters more than, like, the time. Is like, did I go get after it? And I realized, like, when looking back at those questions, like, I wasn't being as competitive as I wanted to be, and that's kind of what tied into the stagnant of my results, was like, I could have been more competitive here. And that's kind of how I, like, changed my mindset about success, is like, I need to be more competitive, I need to get after it, and if I can do that, then the success will come with it. Um, and this past year, I really want to apply that because I struggled with that my sophomore year, but unfortunately, this year I was injured. I had tore my plantar fascia in December, so I was out for indoor and outdoor season, my junior year, but I'm really looking to apply that mindset about the way that I view success this coming season. So lock in, trust, it's coming soon. But I'm really excited just to see like the way that I can compete knowing, and it's not as simple as just like having a mindset, but by like applying that mindset every day in practice and being able to grind every day. I feel like that is gonna help me a lot.
I love how you brought that up because I think redefining success has been a huge theme for me these past couple of months
Mhm.
because for volleyball it's not times but it's also stats driven. Like for me in my position specifically, it's like what's your passing, it's we call it like passing GPA, and it's like typically you want to be getting like I'll say in like simple terms, you want all A's, but it's not realistic. But
Mhm.
for me, I get like A D, and it's
Mhm.
like I want to be able to be more B, C,
Mhm.
but like more consistent over time.
Mhm.
And so, also redefining success for me, I found that I like last season, I feel like I burnt out basically the whole year because I was trying so hard to for that result, like for the playing time, and I was working hard to get something done. And I'm very intrinsically motivated, so like I get up and I'll go work out and do all these things and push myself because I want to do that. But it was also this, now I just added extra pressure of like, okay, if I don't do this, I'm not going to play. Now if I don't this, I'm not going to be ready for the game. And now it made it kind of hard to just enjoy and have fun. So now my success for me that I've redefined is like back to what you were saying, kind of like how did I get better today? How did I push myself today? Just those process oriented things to help me hopefully eventually reach those outcome goals, but coming back to the process and coming back to just the joy of the game and like has helped me keep playing and keep going and come out of that burnout phase. I guess that was me going on my little tangent, but
Yes, I love the tangents. I did not know about the APA or the
yeah, it's like
AABD. Mhm.
I mean we use numbers, so it's on a number scale. In my gym, it's like a 4 would be like an A+, a 3 would be like a 2 would be like a B, a 1 is like a D, and then when you get ace, that's like a DF. So like
Whoa,
that's how I would
GPA.
describe it.
That
More
makes
like
sense.
it. I'm doing my best to not be F all the time. No, I'm not F all. I just like I explained, like I'll get like a perfect pass, then I'll get ace, and it's like okay, Liv, let's try to just be more consistent over time than being perfect. And as everyone knows, I struggle with trying not to be perfect all the time because it doesn't last very long. So,
Yeah,
um,
you got this.
But
Mhm.
I'm okay. I'm gonna be honest on here because there's a lot. Like Yasmin said, we like recorded this episode, but then the file got corrupted. I did save it right, and so then we're re-recording it, which I'm so grateful for her to have her time and to be my trial run as I learn through this process. But I've been so stuck trying to figure out like I've been trying to cover everything that we hit last time that I just loved, but
Mhm.
um, I kind of want to bring it back to. I did want to ask you something. Like I didn't ask you this last time, but you're doing all these things outside of your sport. Did you find these things naturally, or because for me, I feel like I was kind of not forced, but life chose this path of me to find my own passion and through Feed the Soul and
Mhm.
through different things that weren't focused on my sport. And
Mhm.
like, um, I know I'm not going to become a pro athlete. I know my time as an division or an athlete is going to end. So I think life has kind of forced me in these other directions. And
Mhm.
I'm very grateful for it. But do you feel like, or have you like naturally, oh, like, no, I love what I do and all these things, or it's like,
Mhm.
okay, life has pushed me in these directions and now I'm doing things outside of my sport that fulfill me. Um, I don't really know what my question is here, but like, how do you feel
Got
about
you.
like, how do you feel about these different things that you found while doing your sport? Does it stress you out? Does it bring you more joy? Um, Talk about all
Yeah.
the things that you do.
So I feel like when it comes to like the business side of things, like all those things that I'm involved with, or even like my faith, those sort of things I stuck out, seeked out because I always knew that having a community was really important to me. And being well rounded and just having like a connection within the professional space and like something that will be there long term is something I've always wanted to have. Um, Sunbundle wasn't a thing before last year, before this past year, but before MBSA was kind of that community for me. It was like a way that I'm like, okay, I'm more than just my sport, and here's what that looks like for me. And I always knew that I wanted to make my own brand and have my own business. I just never knew what that would look like or what that was going to look like until last summer when I had that realization. I remember writing in my journal once. It was like, how do I leverage the fact that I'm an athlete um, for a for good, kind of. And it was like I never knew how to answer that question. And by having like a background in business and just by having like a community within the business space, I knew that it would have to do with business in some way because that would kind of like aligns like all the different things that I care about in one brand. Um, but I just didn't know what that looked like, and it didn't come to fruition. It's kind of natural. It was like a situation where I was like, "This is my aha moment where I want to do." And just knowing that I'm passionate about it, ambitious about it, is how it came to fruition and how all that came to play. But I realize now, like as I'm even talking about this, Sunbundle like takes into account athletics, it takes into account business, and it takes into account giving back to the community, which has to do with my faith. So it's like all three different like big parts of my life in one brand, and it's like it means a lot to me because it's something that I can continue to build and grow on even after I'm an athlete, which was the whole point behind like having those other communities was like how can I use the connections I'm making in college beyond college. So if that answers that question, just being well rounded and having something to like have throughout my life is kind of what drew me to those experiences. And in the past, like, I've had different clubs that I've been a part of. Like, I remember, uh, Livy and I have a mutual friend. Her name is Claire. Claire's listening to this. Hey, girl. Claire and I joined this cooking club freshman year. And it was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Like, we can, like, do stuff together and have a community outside of track and field. But then the cooking club was kind of like, it was like demanding in time. There was a lot of stuff we could make it to. And then, like, these other clubs that I was able to, like, have a community with. And I love the cooking club. I love all these clubs I've been involved with. But, like, long term, the ones that I found the most connection towards were the ones that I aligned with morally, and just, like, within my faith, within my ambition. So, yes, I love cooking. But, again, I told you I need to work on that. Maybe I should go back to those meetings. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of, like, how that was, again, a long sentence. But that's kind of how I got involved in those communities.
No, that's okay. You definitely answered my question. I think in your answer, I'm realizing like again, as much as I love all the things I'm a part of, all these communities I've built for myself, like I was in SAC for a while, then I became the co-president of SAC. I'm also part of our student athlete wellness group. I started Feed the Soul Company.
Okay, Queen.
And I these are all things that I love that I'm a part of and do, but sometimes I get stuck in my head and it's like, dang, I look at the negative side of it instead of being like, oh, these are going to be communities that I grow in my future. I focus too much on the fact that it's, oh, I made these because I couldn't focus on my sport. Mm-hmm. And my journey with my life and my sport, like I've learned that I've had to take care of myself first before I can go or excel anywhere else. And I think because of that, sport hasn't been like the one thing I've excelled or been known for. Like I think I'm known for being a pretty well balanced person. And sometimes I get stuck like, oh, I wish I was just a phenom athlete instead of having all these great things, because I was forced to choose all these things because I wasn't a phenom athlete. But I think I have to choose that Yasmine mindset of being like, look at these great connections I've made. And look at this, like I have all these communities that I can lean on and have for me after college. But
you know what I just realized?
Yeah.
When I was in high school, you were that community for me. Because when I was in high school, I struggled a lot with like being able to like not like just like have fun and just do like us going to a pool and trying to breathe out of straws underwater. Like all those little things that we did in high school. I feel like before I met you, I struggled with just like being able to like let go. And it was like I was a part of a lot of different things in high school, but I'm like, oh my God, Livy, this is so much fun. And even now, like when I go do random stuff with my friends, I'm like, yeah, my friend taught me how to play this game. Yeah. What are the odds? So yeah, it's just like so awesome, like that how much you've helped me grow and just be able to like connect with these communities. Because truthfully, without you, I think I would struggle with that even now. So that's the little thing. I didn't even say that in the last one. Like I just like honestly.
Yes, I'm gonna cry. Not as having a moment on her podcast.
Oh, don't do it. But we must feed the soul.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, we've been on 8 different tangents. Listeners, if you're still here, you guys are the real ones. But again, I do have to. I'm gonna. I don't want to apologize. I think I apologize too much, but I'm gonna own, like, for this episode, I really wanted it to be a certain way. Like, I just loved how much our first episode flowed, and I think we still hit a lot of things and still like got everything I wanted in here. But I'm so glad that we redid it, because there's a lot that, again, that the second time I'm doing this, I was worried, oh, it's gonna be stiff, it's gonna be a different way. But I learned even more about you after the first time we did this, and after the first time I felt like I know a whole new Yaz, like I know, but now it's like, no, it's okay, it's gonna be different, it's okay. Okay. Drum roll, please. To my big question. Yes, wearer of many hats. You do a lot in your day, and a lot of layers. So, tell me, after being D1 athlete, like founder of nonprofit, president of community, all these things, and then amongst being sister, daughter, all those things. How do you feed the soul? What makes you feel better after a long day? And
it sounds better the second time.
How do you, with the small pockets of time you have, what do you like to do that makes you feel better?
So something that has always played a really big role in my life, and that's allowed me to reflect and just like really like stay in tune to myself and like always makes me feel better, is journaling. That is how I feed my soul. I have always journaled, bullet journaled, just kind of like kept scraps in my life and reflected in that way. And it's been something that's always been huge in my life. And when I take some time away from journaling, and just kind of like forget about it or like don't like engage in it, I realize like I feel worse. Like I don't feel like as like in tune with my emotions. I'm kind of like more irritable, or I'm like I haven't reflected with myself recently. And it's always been something that just has meant a lot to me. And I noticed like throughout my life, journaling has definitely changed. Like when I was in high school, I would kind of like I would journal as if someone else was reading it. It would kind of be like a little vlog, which by the way, go subscribe to maybe Yaz, that YouTube channel. But anyway, so uh I would kind of write as if like I wasn't completely honest with myself. And throughout journaling and just being in college and just recognizing how important it is to be honest with yourself has really helped me just like grow as a person and be able to reflect with myself more efficiently. Because when you're honest with yourself, even if it's like not the best thought, like I would always think like, oh my God, this is so wrong for thinking this, or like for giving up, or like for thinking this way. Like I remember I'd write sometimes about running, like I felt so good on my run today. I did not feel good on that run. And now like I can write honestly about it and just like be completely fully honest with myself, and you'll feel better when you do that. Because going back and reading my entries, like, oh shoot, I felt like shit this day, but I felt better on this day. Like knowing that there are ups and downs and just being completely truthful to yourself is like something that I've noticed is like something that's changed a lot in my life. But yeah, that is definitely how I feed the soul, journaling, and honestly, even like vlogging or just like making videos, because I feel like the way that I make my videos is always like in an honest way or like in a way that reflects like my personality, the way that I want to carry myself. So yeah, kind of reflecting on my life is how I feed the soul. Whether that's journaling, whether that's videography, whether that's TikToks, I think that's kind of how I feed the soul. And I need to physically feed the soul with or feed the body by following that nutrition. But anyway,
Feed your body,
that's
not
kind
let
of
your
like
soul.
how I take care of myself. Pa, pa, pa.
Um,
We did it.
okay, I love that answer just because last time you said I need to unplug. And then
Mm.
we talked a little bit about like that's so interesting because now we're both starting new businesses and we have to be on the internet. So how do you do that? But
Mhm.
I loved how your answer was now I can still feed my soul. I can be like internet, whatever. But now I'm just going to do it more truthfully, more authentic. And now it feels better. It doesn't feel like an exhausting thing. And
Mhm.
I love that.
I forgot about the unplugging thing. That's literally like another thing is like just leaving my phone or just kind of being like more authentic is like goes into also building more relationships and not being online as much. So yeah, for sure. I'll have to remember that. Oh my gosh, wait, that was so crazy. Guys, the first time we recorded this, like I think it was an hour and a half of yapping. So that half an hour our FBI agent has I don't know where it is. But oh my god.
Is
Feed the
there anything
soul.
else you'd like to share with the podcast?
My little piece of advice as a collegiate student in business is make sure you leverage the connections you have while you're still in college. Because honestly, so this is like a little side tangent when it comes to professional or workplace. So this past fall, I applied to 50 different internships and my email storage ran out and 35 of them bounced back to them without even applying because my email storage was full. So I had 15 internships that I applied to that didn't bounce back, but also I didn't even hear back from 35 of them, which is crazy. And the only interviews that I got within those 15 were ones that I had a connection to, that met the recruiter, that I knew someone who worked there, that I wrote on my application. Those are the only ones that I heard back from. And I didn't realize how much of an impact that having a network and being connected and just being able to like set up a coffee chat with someone who worked there and like get a connection through that, how much of an impact that would make on your professional life. That could just be a business thing, but it was crazy how I noticed the people that I had heard back from were only people that I was connected to. And now when I talk to other people at Ross, they're like, "You didn't know that? You didn't know you had to be connected?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't know that." So like, just having that experience, just because I had to go through it, and also buy storage if you don't have the storage for your Gmail. So that's two things: buy storage, and then also leverage those connections because your classmates, your teachers, oh my god, your professors, they're all such great resources for yourself and just for your learning. And just wanting to wherever you want to go with your professional career, make sure you talk to and just understand what people like about their job, how they got to their job. It's like huge when it comes to like growth and development because I learned it and I know like everyone will learn it too, but like being connected is huge. So that is my little like last little rant is just yeah, connections and getting that storage for sure.
Getting that storage. Thank you so much for sharing that because I think it's really cool to hear your perspective because, yes, you are in business school and then you have your nonprofit, which is your business that you pour into. But I think, I guess, at least for me, a misconception with people in the business realm, it's like a lot of your interactions with people are transactional. So it's like, I know you and you know me. So, and we know this because I want something from you and you want something from me. And this is how we're friends. But from how you speak of it, it's very like authentic, true, natural.
Mm.
And I love that. And I think that's very refreshing to hear for people.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm gonna say the outro. Okay, ready? Thank you guys so much for listening. Please like and subscribe to Feed the Soul. Make sure to add it to your podcast player, aka Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this on. And please stay in tune with the Instagram and social media so you can know when the next episode comes out. Yeah. Peace out, y'all. Love Yaz and